Okay, this lesson is about point of intersection. So when we say point of intersection, we are looking at how many different solutions are there to a linear system of two equations. So when we say solutions, solutions would mean how many points of intersection. Points of intersection would be how many times two equations or two lines that they cross each other. So there are three different scenarios that you can come across ever when we are looking at two equations. So case one would be if the two lines are parallel. If the two lines are parallel, then these two lines will never cross each other, and we say that there is no solution. Case two is if there are two non-parallel lines. So in this scenario, these two non-parallel lines will always cross at least one point, and this is called their point of intersection, and we say they have one solution. And case three would be if there are two identical lines. Two identical lines would be if there is a line and there is another line on top of that line. So in this scenario, these two lines cross each other at infinite number of points, and we say that there are infinite solutions. Now we are going to look at a word problem scenario and see how we can figure out a point of intersection. Okay, so Mike wants to join a ski club for winter, and he has two options to choose from. First option he has is he can go with the daily rate of $50 per day, or he can choose the frequent extremist, which is $100 per registration plus $40 each day. So now we have to come up with the point of intersection and understand what does it mean. So the first point we have to do is we have to create an equation that relates to the total cost to the number of days for both payments. So here we have to first create our let statement. So what could be our let statement? Let C represent cost, because obviously we are talking about cost. And then the other thing that we are talking about is cost per day. So what could be our second variable? Therefore, C would represent days. So using these two variables, we are going to create our equations. So our first one was daily rate. So for daily rate per day is $50. What could be the equation? That would be, I'm just labeling it as A, and our first equation could be C equals, now it's $50 per day, so it's going to be just 50D. The second one is the frequent extremist, where you are charged $100. So for that, what will be our equation? Cost would be $100 plus you are asked to pay $40 per day. So it's going to be 40D. So using these two equations, now we are going to create our table of values and we are going to graph it. Again, you have all this information from cycle 3, how to create a table of values given an equation and how to create a graph. So let's go ahead and figure out what could be our number of days. Now you could pick anything. Number of days could be going up by 5, going up by 1, going up by 2. I'm going to pick days going up by 2s. So we can start with 0 days, 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, 8 days, 10 days, and so on. So when we are looking at daily rate, for daily rate, our equation was C equals 50D. And the frequent extremist, our equation was C equals 100 plus 40D. Now it doesn't matter, you can write 100 first or 100 after 40D. So using these two equations, now we are going to create our table of values. Now I'm going to do the first one for you, and then you can pause the video and finish up your table. So if it's 0 days, what will be the cost for daily rate? So the cost will be 50 times 0, which is $0. For frequent extremist, cost would be $100 plus 40 times the number of days. So it will be 100 plus 40 times 0, which is going to be just 100. Okay, let me do one more for you. So the second one is for 2 days. So C would be what? 50 times 2, which is $100. And for frequent extremists, it's going to be $100 plus 40 times 2 days. So that would make $180. Now you can pause the video and finish up the table and see if you got the same answer. Okay, I hope your values in the tables match with my values on the table. So now we are going to create a table of values. For the table of values, days is your independent variable. So number of days will be for X value. And then cost, total cost, would be your Y value. And total cost is in dollars. Now we must give a title to this table or graph, which could be, we are talking about cost. So it's going to be cost versus number of days. Okay, so the scale, again, depending on yours, I'm going up by 1. So every other I'm going to label as 2. So it's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And for the cost, I'm going up by 50s. So every other block would be 100. So you can pause the video and label your graph. Okay, graphing daily rate now. So using your table of values, your first point would be 0, 0. And then we have 200, 4, 200, 6, 300. Now, if you notice, every 2 days, the value is going up by $100. So you can just use your grid and draw a straight line. Make sure you're using a ruler. I can't on my software, so my line might be a little bit crooked. Okay, now we're going to graph the frequent extremists. So I'm going to use a blue line, and I'm going to label all the points that are given here. And if you notice, every 2 days, the value is going up by $80. Okay, so we can clearly see that there is one point of intersection, and this point of intersection is right here. So you circle that point of intersection and you write the coordinates for this point. So for this point, the coordinates are 10 and 500. So for 10 days, it costs $500. So when do both the options cost Mike the same amount? Write the coordinates of this point. That would be question C, and we are answering that now. So that would be for 10 days, both options cost $500. So what are the coordinates of this point? 10, 500. And remember, 10 is your independent variable, so it goes first, and 500 is the total cost, which is dependent variable, and it goes second, so X and Y. So which payment should Mike choose? Now here, this is where you will have to give me concrete numbers to give me your answer. You cannot say that, oh, more, less, and all those words. You have to give me numbers we are talking about here. So if he is choosing to go for less than 10 days, which option would be better? For less than 10 days, your graph red is below. So that means that is a better option. So therefore, daily rate is better. Whereas if you are going for more than 10 days, that's when your second plan, the frequent extremist, becomes better because that cost is lower than the daily rate. So daily frequent extremist is better choice. So if you can see, I have been very specific with the number. You have to mention the numbers when we are answering questions like